Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament Gospels, looking at the 250 events in the life of Jesus. And today we're looking at Jesus predicting Peter's denial. We've seen the Jesus washing the disciples' feet. We saw the him doing the Passover, right, and celebrating the Passover, instituting the Lord's Supper. And then here we're going to see that Jesus predicts Peter's denial. This all happens in order as we are following this in chronological order. So this is actually recorded in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I'm going to again stick with Matthew's account of this. In verse 31 of Matthew 26, he says, "On the way, Jesus told them, 'Tonight all of you will desert me, for the scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I've been raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you to Galilee and meet you there.' Peter declared, 'Even if everyone else deserts you, I will never desert you.'" I love Peter's attitude. He was always gung ho, usually putting his foot in his mouth. Then Jesus replied, "I tell you the truth, Peter, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times, or deny 3 times that you even know me." "No," Peter insisted. "Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you." And all the other disciples vowed the same. And so, just some short notes on here because I'm not going to talk too detail of this one because I'm going to really hit it whenever we see Jesus, reinstitute Peter into the back into the fold, as you would say here. But one of the things we see here is all of the disciples declared that they would die before denying Jesus, every single one of them. And then a few hours later, they're all gone. They're all scattered. And as we see that Peter, Peter was empathetic. He tried to have that strong attitude that he was the bold one. He was usually the one who was going to speak up. He was the one that was going to put his foot in his mouth. But in the end, right, it's easy to say that we're going to be devoted to Christ, but our claims are meaningful, are only meaningful when they're tested, right? And when they're tested in the crucible of crucifixion. There's a lot of people that say they will do something, or say they will stand up for Jesus, or say they'll stand up for things, but in the end, whenever it comes, when their feet's put to the fire, a lot of times we fail, and that's easy to do. I mean, you think about it. Peter and all the apostles had been with Jesus around 3 years at this point, and every single one of them ran away. And so, don't be too hard on yourselves if you fail in this. If something you're tested and you fail, because they all failed. They all failed multiple times, but still they were the apostles, and we see how much change and how much good they did. And so that's a wonderful thing to see that redemption is possible even when we mess up. The one thing we need to make sure too is that we need the Holy Spirit, not boastfulness and human resolve, right? He was boastful, he was proud, he was like, I'm not going and that's the time when we start getting really proud and really boastful. That's the time that we get knocked down a notch, good Lord will knock us down a notch. And that's what happens to Peter, and we're going to see this play out here in a few days. And we must never discount our vulnerability to pride and greed and even indifference, right? And this was kind of excuse me, we see Peter's here was pride, right? He was standing strong. We saw Judas's was greed, right? His downfall was greed, and so we need to be very careful in this, right? I mean, the people that were closest to Jesus were vulnerable in this. They had these issues. They were still the ones who failed and had these problems, even with Jesus right by their side. And so we can say we'll do a lot of things, or we can say, but a lot of that stuff's not doesn't flesh out until we're tested, and we're really tested. And that's whenever the true color show of how we are going to appear. Now, this can be hard. I can say, I failed in this, and I think we all can say that we failed in this, that when the times come to be tested, we didn't stand up the way we should have, or maybe we fleed when we should have stood firm in what we were looking at, or what we were standing up for. And so we just got to be careful. We got to lean on the Holy Spirit. Now, don't try to lean on yourself. Don't try to lean on others. I mean, it's okay to lean on others, but don't use that for everything, right? Make sure you're leaning on the Holy Spirit to guide you and push you where you need to go, because that is where we fail sometimes. We forget to lean on God. We forget to lean on others. We try to lean on our own strength, and that we're going to fail in that almost every time. So we just got to be really careful in that. And so just the main message here is, Peter, who was one of the closest to Jesus, right? He failed in his ability to stand firm next to his best friend when things got hard. So we just need to make sure we don't do the same thing, or be careful, or have an understanding that this could happen to us. And so we don't know a lot of times how firm we're going to stand until those troubles really do come. As always, I really appreciate everyone for watching these. We're getting a little bit deeper and deeper into what's happening. I know some of these last few weeks have been, or the last few days have been a little shorter, but we're getting ready to get into some of John's study, and that's a lot much longer. And so we'll look at those, and these videos will get a little bit deeper. So I really appreciate everyone for watching. I appreciate those who share these and have followed along this entire time. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and do that, because we'll continue to put out these little studies and devos every day for a while now. We're going to kind of reset when we hit the end of this study, but that way you get the notifications and different items when we do publish things. And as always, I appreciate everyone for watching.